A third coup in less than 6 months has just happened in Africa, and if you don't think that this is a cause for concern, then you are definitely kidding yourselves. On October, soldiers in Nigeria ousted their democratically elected president, Mohamed Bazoum. Now the country is being ruled by a military junta led by General 𝐢𝐻𝐻𝐻 Tchiani, who also serves as the new head of state. Now before Nigeria, it was Sudan. On October, the Sudanese military overthrew the transitional government of Prime Minister Abdallah Hamdok, who was appointed after the toppling of longtime dictator Omar al-Bashir. Bashir had ruled Sudan with an iron fist for 30 years, and now Sudan is being ruled by another military leader, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, who also serves as the head of the country's sovereign council. Before Sudan, it was Niger. In July, the Presidential Guard in Niger ousted and imprisoned President Mohamed Bazoum. Now Niger is being ruled by the military leader, General 𝐢𝐻𝐻𝐻 Tchiani, who also serves as the head of state. These 3 coups bring to 12 the number of successful coups in Africa since the year 2020. And many analysts believe that more coups are coming. So today we're going to try to answer why are these coups spreading in Africa. If you think this video will help you understand global politics better, please subscribe. We make these videos so that you can better understand global politics. And please do us a favor, share this video with one friend. In total, there have been 17 attempted coups in Africa since 2020, which is almost half of the number of countries in Africa. A lot of these attempts were actually happening at the same time. For example, Guinea, Mali, and Chad all saw coup attempts within a span of 2 weeks. Mali even saw 2 coup attempts in 18 months. Clearly, there is some level of inspiration or organization happening here. So what's behind these coups? Well, like everything else in global politics, there isn't just one reason. There are multiple reasons at play here, and understanding these reasons requires looking at Africa through the lens of the Cold War. You see, the Cold War never really ended. America and China are fighting a new Cold War right now, and both these powers are heavily invested in Africa. This is because Africa is not just a huge market for both these powers, but it also holds strategic value. The United States needs allies to counter China's growing influence, and the best way to do that is by cultivating strong ties with African governments. China, on the other hand, needs Africa to feed its industrial machine. Over the last decade, China has built massive infrastructure projects across Africa. Some reports say that by 2030, China could become the largest trading partner of Africa. But there's a problem here. Many African countries aren't happy with the terms on which trade is happening. First, they feel that Chinese companies are taking advantage of them. Most of the investments from China are happening in resource-rich countries like Angola, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and Zambia. Secondly, most of these investments are debt traps. African countries are saddled with so much debt that they may never be able to pay back. Just look at Zambia. It became the first African country to default on its debt in 2020. So this background, many African countries are getting increasingly frustrated with the West. They want to diversify their political and economic relationships, and this is where Russia comes in. Russia offers them an alternative. They offer them military partnerships and arms. And most importantly, they have a new plan for Africa, a plan that includes a new security pact and a new trade alliance. Now, this is not to say that African countries are ditching the West completely. Their relationship with the US and Europe is too important for that. But they are trying to diversify, and this changing relationship with the West is one of the major factors contributing to these coups. The second factor is climate change. Africa is the world's fastest-growing region. By 2050, it will have more than 2 billion people. That's more than China and India put together. Now, this kind of population growth is putting a lot of pressure on African states. Resources are becoming scarce, poverty is increasing, and migration is becoming more pronounced. All of this is leading to instability, and this instability is being exploited by the military. Factor number 3 is internal division. Most African countries are riddled with ethnic and religious divisions. These divisions often lead to civil wars, like the one in the Central African Republic, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and Libya. And when there is war, the military becomes the biggest beneficiary. Oftentimes, they get foreign support. Take Libya, for instance. Gaddafi was killed in 2011, and ever since the country has been stuck in a civil war. The two sides in this war have been backed by foreign powers. The UN-backed government is based in the capital, Tripoli, while the other government is based in the east and gets support from Egypt, the UAE, and France. This support has helped the Libyan National Army procure advanced weapons. They have drones, fighter jets, and attack helicopters. In fact, the war in Ukraine has only made Libya more dangerous. You see, the LNA was procuring most of its weapons from Russia. After Russia invaded Ukraine, the LNA was forced to look elsewhere. Now, according to reports, Turkey is helping the LNA with drones and armored vehicles, and the timing couldn't have been worse. Libya is preparing for elections in 2023, and the LNA seems intent on derailing them. Recently, the LNA carried out attacks on 2 strategic oil ports. They've also been attacking refugee camps. More than 70,000 refugees have had to flee. What's happening in Libya is a textbook example of how foreign conflicts affect African politics. Factor number 4 is the weakness of African institutions. When I say institutions, I'm talking about democratic institutions like the judiciary and the legislature. Both of these are toothless in front of the executive. Let me give you an example. In 2020, Guinea saw a coup. The military arrested President Alpha Condé and dissolved the constitution. Now, according to the constitution, it was the parliament's job to appoint a transitional leader. But the parliament instead appointed a civilian, an 83-year-old politician named Dan Quetta. But that didn't go down well with the military. They detained Saida and imposed a nationwide curfew. Clearly, the parliament was not respected. This is the story in most African countries. Elections are often rigged. Courts protect dictators and parliaments are toothless. This lack of strong institutions makes it easier for the military to take power. And finally, we come to factor number 5, the legacy of colonialism. Most African countries got independence from colonial powers in the mid-20th century. Since then, they have seen only one form of government, and that is a centralized state. Colonial powers like Britain and France centralized the states in Africa so that they could easily control them. But this centralization came at the expense of nation building. States were created artificially. Ethnic divisions were ignored. And when these countries got independence, they inherited this centralized state structure, so most African states are centralized, corrupt, and personalized. The president's power is not limited by institutions. It is often hereditary. Take the case of Equatorial Guinea. Teodoro Obiang Mangue is the president of this tiny island nation. He has been in power since 1979. That's 43 years. His son, Teodoro Nguema Obiang Mangue, is already being groomed to take over. He is the vice president of the country. Clearly, strong institutions are necessary to prevent coups, but strong institutions require strong societies. And unfortunately, African societies are fragmented along ethnic and religious lines. To conclude, let me tell you what Ibrahim Traoré, the president of the African Development Bank, said about these coups. A. Successful coup d'etat undermines the efforts and resources devoted to good governance, peace, and security, as well as efforts aimed at poverty reduction and sustainable development in Africa. He is right. It's hard to attract foreign investment when there is instability, and without foreign investment, it's hard to grow. Africa is already the world's poorest region. 54% of its population lives below 190 a day. If these coups keep happening, the situation can worsen. That's all from our side. Do let us know your thoughts in the comments, and thanks for watching.